In 2004, this state had the biggest gap in voter turnout between young voters and older voters. High voter turnout among older voters, relatively middling voter turnout among younger voters. Biggest gap in the country, tied only with Kansas. In 2008, this state had the biggest growth in the country in the youth vote share, one of the top 5 smallest gaps, significantly changed the political conversation in the state. I have this mostly just as an example that I do believe that the only way to change things is to change them. And the only way to build new power is, in fact, to build new power. And that your generation has more power than you'd think.
Yeah, we do.
If you only will wield it. I want to cover a few issues, then I'll wrap. What are some of the things that are going on? Some good things that have happened. And I should say, for folks in other states, raise your hand if you live in Montana. Maybe we have a nice, we have a round of applause for Montana people. At Ford, Montana, good organization. You guys can hook up. Anybody from, and I don't mean that, anybody from Washington State, Washington State, you got to hook up with Thomas and the other Molly at the Washington bus. Anybody here from Colorado? Colorado. So you should call personally Stephen Fenberg and get some more of you who are here. But that's fine. New Era, Colorado is a good outfit in your place. So some good things that have been happening in the West. One, we did get passed in this state and in several other states renewable energy standard to say we'll at least get 25% of our energy outputs in renewable sources by 2025. We're already well ahead of schedule, which, by the way, says to every corporate lobbyist who says, we couldn't possibly, you must vote no. They were lies, damn liars, and it could have done 30% by 2025 and also been able to clear that bar. We did get done in this last session retrofitting, because I heard somebody here say, well, how are you using it? It's a very legitimate question. If we build political power, how are you using that power? So I'm trying to answer a little bit of that question. We did get done retrofitting investment of bonding authority and retrofitting of private homes where you pay back. It's a good thing. Every state should do it, where you can get a low interest loan to retrofit your house. Hopefully somebody talked about this at some workshop today, where you retrofit your home and pay back the cost of the retrofitting in savings from your own energy bill. And in fact, the bill is also on your energy bill, so no big problem for you. Some bads, because I want to acknowledge them. One, and I say this in particular to people who are in Washington State as well as Oregonians. Any Oregonians here? Yeah. So right now, there is a plan to build a $4.2 billion mega bridge between Portland and Vancouver to serve primarily Vancouver commuters. 3/4 of the traffic on that bridge, by the way, would be the biggest project in the history of this region. To serve primarily, 75% of the traffic is local traffic. Almost all of it is serving Vancouver commuters who live there to avoid Oregon taxes and to avoid Oregon land use laws, where it's sort of harder to build anything you want wherever you want. So that's a bad, and that's a thing if you want to get involved in local issues. That's a local issue. Second, I want to say a little thing about high-speed rail. So there was some talk about that it was a neat thing, the stimulus package had some high-speed rail money in it, and I totally agree. But I was reminded this morning that the amount of money we spent in the stimulus package, I don't remember how much it was, but it amounted to 1% of what China is spending on high-speed rail every year. We ain't done nothing yet. And by the way, why is this linked to a big bridge? Well, opportunity cost. We're spending $4.2 billion in that and all of our political capital in order to get that project done. How are we going to do one of the most high-value projects we could possibly do for, quoting my friend earlier, for our communities, for the environment, and for our economy, high-speed rail? Pretty hard to do both things. Pretty hard to build a bridge to the next century or this century if we're building bridges for a transportation system built for the 1950s. Somebody said something about clean coal, and it just occurred to me, has anybody ever tried to clean coal? You get like a pile of dust and a really dirty rag. spreading that. I'm spreading that. Pass that around. Yeah, I just came up like 5 minutes ago, that chair. Chair 87 next to my friend who doesn't smile very much, but you're 11. I like you. I know, it's not your fault, it's mine. I think you're, you're wonderful. You're smiling now. I knew I'd get you. Something still to do to go forward that I think this state could do and other states could do is not only retrofitting private homes, but also public buildings, getting it in our universities, which everybody here should be campaigning on. I know that lots of local PERG chapters are working on that, and other organizations are working on those issues. I think we could also do it in our high schools. I think we could also do it in other public buildings, has lots of fiscal benefits. But ultimately, what I'm asking, what I want to talk about, or what I've been talking about, is not merely the passage of or defeat of a few issues, but the building of political movement. And I'm going to carve out some of this because it's getting late. So let me just say a couple things. One is getting comfortable with the idea of power. Imagine two teams. One team who believes its role in the universe is to gain and maintain power and wield it. Imagine that another team believes its role in the universe is to share power. Who's going to win? We need to be willing to wield power, not for the benefit of the powerful, not might makes right, but might for right. Woo! I got that one from the West Wing. Three lessons that I wanted to offer to build the politics of the common good. I will do these very fast. First, wielding access to cheap, good information. I don't need to belabor that point, but there is a chance. When Thomas Jefferson built the Democratic-Republican Party centuries ago, there's a reason. If you, in your state, you might have, in our state we have the Albany Democrat, the early newspapers were partisan engines. They had agendas. Okay? There is a chance now to build new media entities that have agendas. They're not partisan, but that are common good entities. They don't merely exist for the sales of advertising and the benefit of its owners, but they have a raison d'etre of improving the world. And the technology change right now, people are thinking about how you want to spend your life. That's one good way. Second, build communities and infrastructure, including joining existing institutions, both likely and unlikely ones. So, sure, I like the bus, I like Power Shift, I like Green for All, I like the political party of your choice, although I have a preference. But also a few that are a little less likely. Rural communities. Faith communities. By the way, I read the Bible. And the number of times it says big business and big military, very few. I remember standing on the street and turning the table of money changers. Okay? Number of times it talks about abortion, kind of hard to find. Number of times it talks about homosexuality, kind of hard to find. Number of times it says be a steward of the land, dozens of times. Number of times it says cure the sick, hundreds of times. Number of times it says help the poor, hundreds and hundreds of times. They're with us!